We understand what this character means to people in here, and we're making this game with a lot of heart, and we're going to do whatever it takes to give people the ultimate Spider-Man experience, the game that they've been waiting for.
Insomniac Games was always seen as a great developer. All the way from their initial launch of Disruptor back in 1996, the studio showed great promise and a drive to make games of high quality. This promise was only confirmed with their 1998 breakout hit, Spyro the Dragon, a game that put Insomniac on the map and made them one of PlayStation's best second-party developers. Just like Naughty Dog, they started making 3D platformers. However, unlike Naughty Dog, Insomniac never really branched out into the creme de la creme of quote-unquote best of all times list like their PlayStation Studio counterpart did. The gap between the two only grew further apart once Naughty Dog got acquired by PlayStation and started diversifying their portfolio of titles like the Uncharted and the Last of Us franchise. Not until they released Resistance Fall of Man did they finally begin to branch out of the tried and true Ratchet & Clank series and decided in telling a more adult game that was not only alien to them in terms of tone, but in terms of genre. This time, rather than a 3D platformer, Resistance is a first-person shooter that takes place in a setting where World War II never existed and had the player gun down infested creatures. Resistance went on to launch for the PS3 and became a moderately successful title for PlayStation to launch to. It went on to gain a superior sequel and just as moderately disappointing threequel. All that being said, while Insomniac continued to release games that strayed away from their platformer, they never really managed to reach the same heights as they were reaching producing Ratchet & Clank. Fuse turned out not only to be financial disappointment, but also as of 2023, their worst rated game they've ever released. And while Sunset Overdrive looks to have seen a resurgence in popularity from PlayStation fans, it doesn't change the fact that no one batted an eye to it, becoming a flop back in 2014 when it released for the Xbox One, which is still crazy to me as that game is so much fun not only from a gameplay perspective, but I mean look at it, it looks incredible. The art style is so out there and unique that it never gets stale to ponder at. Anyways, it seems that the general consensus amongst fans back in 2014 was that Insomniac was always seen as this pretty good and efficient studio. Unfortunately, however, they were never looked at in the same way other studios like Naughty Dog and Rockstar were being seen as. If you'd ask me, even in 2014, I would have argued their portfolio of games showed that they should have at least been in the conversation. However, what they really needed was that one gaming franchise that was not only great, but popular enough to put them into the mainstream so people can see how great their games really are. Luckily for them, and especially for us, in the summer of 2016, we got a glimpse of how bright their future was going to be. I remember waking up at 6:30 a.m, getting ready for school, grabbing my Cinnamon Toast Crunch and pouring the milk into a bowl while on the phone looking at any news that interested me at the time, when I was greeted to this photo. I was dumbfounded to see what I was even looking at, thinking that maybe there was an announcement of a new Spider-Man comic. Nope, I remember looking at the reveal teaser and was just hyped to see Spider-Man on video games being taken seriously again. Knowing Insomniac, my initial reaction was one of confusion. Like, I was excited to see Insomniac's name on it, but then I thought about how they were going to attempt a Spider-Man game, knowing this would be their first ever melee combat game with a focus on a strong narrative and character drama. Yes, they made Sunset Overdrive, which many were quick to point out in the comments the reactions of the trailer when coming to Insomniac's defense. However, I was interested to see how Insomniac was going to tackle a game with an established IP that they never created before. Aside from them developing games for years up to this point, this was so unlike them to do that it actually made me interested to see in how it was going to turn out. In my head, this could have been their one-way ticket into that next tier of developers that are considered all-timers. Spider-Man released in 2018 to critical and financial success, and when I say financial success, I mean them making you money type of success, earning $3.3 million in their first 3 days of release, and the franchise going on to sell over 33 million copies as of June 2022. They were quickly propelled from a modest game studio that put out good games to a fan favorite to look out for. 2018 was the year Insomniac became a fan favorite and even managed to make Spider-Man a Game of the Year nominee. And while Spider-Man and Insomniac went on to get overshadowed by the likes of Rockstar and Studio Santa Monica during the 2018 Game Awards, it was clear that they were just starting out, as Spider-Man 2018 was very much a foundation vision for what the studio was going to produce in the coming years. More people were noticing them, and alongside that, their past games. Quick side note before I go on, because I don't want to frame Insomniac Games as this unknown developer prior to Spider-Man. I know they were always loved by their fans, but they were never really mainstream in the same way they are now. I mean, I'm seeing conversations on social media about who the best developers in the world are, and I haven't heard their name being put into the conversation as consistently as they are now. Anyways, as the years go on, their status only rose, and with games like Miles Morales, which was favored generally by everybody, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, showing off the capabilities of the PS5, and even managing to get a spot at the Game Awards for the Game of the Year. It was apparent that whenever the Insomniac logo appeared on screen, audiences were ready to cheer, and it wasn't more noticeable as it was when in September of 2021, they revealed their next two titles. Yes, you heard me right, 2 titles. Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine would show the world what many were already considering since Rift Apart released. Insomniac Games is carrying the PlayStation 5. As more games feel like they were taking a lifetime to release, Insomniac is out here dropping games like LeBron was dropping buckets during the Game 7 NBA's Finals match. Their efficiency is something that they always had even during their PS2 days when they were releasing games every year, which would only bolster their status in today's gaming climate when gamers were hungrier for Sony to release games more frequently. Spider-Man 2 just recently released, and it is currently at a 91 on Metacritic with over 130 reviews and 100% recommendation from the critic. This game is certainly locked for a Game of the Year slot at the Game Awards, making this Insomniac's 3rd time competing for the big prize in just 5 years. With many already claiming it to be their Game of the Year, Spider-Man 2 seems to be the superhero game that has the best chance to maybe even win the title. Though it's going to be a very tough thing to do, as it would have to compete against Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3, but as of now, those 3 are shoo-ins to win. Whether or not it will win doesn't change the fact that after this generation is done, Insomniac will come out a far more prestigious studio than it did when it came into the generation. With games like Wolverine and their unannounced multiplayer project, that only shows how much they're willing to continue to diversify their already impressive portfolio. The symbiotic relationship, get it? Between an IP as popular as Spider-Man and a hungry, proficient studio that desires to be seen as a must-see developer like Insomniac is something we don't see very often, especially considering the time both were in prior to their joint venture. A veteran development studio wanting to step out of the shadows they were once stuck in, and a mainstream IP that for years was struggling to recapture the same status it once had with quality games that it had during the early 2000s. Since 2016, both the Spider-Man IP and Insomniac Games managed to climb their way up, with Sony and Disney releasing continuous successful content, just as Insomniac was being propped up into becoming on the same level as some of the greats. Spider-Man 2 and the reception it's currently getting is the outcome of years of great quality titles, and what happens when both a development studio and an IP as popular as Spider-Man try to become greater together. Well, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As of the recording of this video, Spider-Man 2 just released, so everyone is playing it right now. So I want to know what you guys think of the game overall, whether you guys completed it or not, and let me know what you guys think of the overall story. Also, feel free to please like and subscribe as I continue putting out more videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next upload.